Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is the owner of JL Nutrition Supplements. He is also a contest prep coach. Today's guest is Jer Lupotsky. Jer, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
For sure, my man. So we're going to just dive right into a couple of questions. I know you mentioned before I hit record, you've listened to some of the episodes, so you kind of know how we start things off here on Behind the Muscle podcast. So the first question that I have for you is, who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
Oh, Lord. The one person who got me into the bodybuilding mindset is Kevin Levrone, without a doubt. Number two, Ronnie Coleman. Loved his physique. Flex, and Sean Roden. I think Sean Roden brought a very unique look to the stage. And he reminded me of, what bodybuilding was like when I was growing up, with that 90s look, with that flow, that nice, look, that small waist. And I think Sean played a big role in a lot of things too for me.
Excellent. So at what age, Jer, did you start lifting weights? And then why did you start lifting weights at that age?
Well, we could cut into it. I was 12 years old when I first started working out. We had a little small hometown gym. It was called the Mount Carmel Fitness Center. And I walked in there, and the owner, Rex, he actually made my dad come in and sign a waiver to allow me to come in and train, because my dad was like, hey, I want my boy to start lifting weights. And I think it all drew back to, I believe it was the old Weeder benches. All right. And I remember hearing my dad down in the basement screaming, and I'm like, what's he doing down there? And I walked down the steps as a little boy, and those old benches, they were small. I mean, they were like little PVC piping, and when you put it up on incline, you had that little bar, going across. And I saw my dad down there, benching, and my dad was a strong individual, and I think that really hit. And I wanted to do that, so I started messing around with weights downstairs in my dad's, down my parents' basement. And then I started getting into, more and more weights, and I had a great crowd, a hometown crowd around me. Like I said, in the Mount Carmel Fitness Center, Rex allowed me to start training at the age of 12. Didn't know what I was doing. And we just had a great old school crowd where it was just go in there and get at it, old school equipment in their, equipment that Arnold was using back in the day. I mean, some old pieces of that old Nautilus equipment, the old chain-driven equipment that is still in that gym today. That you don't see too much of that around anymore, and that really sparked something in me. And then when you see yourself, getting stronger, and you have guys in the gym that were, in their 20s, 30s, and it was not uncommon to walk into that gym and seeing guys throwing, 405 on an incline bench and just repping it out. It was just a bunch of strong hometown, old school type mentality boys that realistically, it was such a tight knit family that you didn't have these big fitness centers and gyms and say, oh, well, that guy's doing 225. Maybe that's the only thing that I could do. You had some strong dudes in there that were throwing around some massive weight. So mentally, when I was growing up in that gym environment, it was, I could do that. So I always respected the fact of having somebody else stronger in the gym than you, because that broke that mentality.
Excellent. Now, I'm curious, you said your dad had some weights down in the basement. He did some lifting. How did your dad kind of get exposed to lifting weights and strength training?
I think it all falls back to basically that hometown environment. I grew up in a small town, Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania. Centralia, Pennsylvania is where my dad grew up. So it was just a bunch of, hometown boys that just basically, it's just been tradition, that you would just lift weights. That's what men did. Men lifted heavy weights, and back then, maybe there wasn't fitness centers involved, there was garages, kids' garages and that's where he started training. He started working out in the garage, with his buddies, punching bags, all that stuff, pull-up bars. And just pass it on from generation to generation. You know, a bunch of hardworking people where I grew up, coal miners, and the work ethic there is just absolutely phenomenal in the area that I grew up in. If anybody knows anything about, you know, the coal region in Pennsylvania, it's just a bunch of old school, you know, hardworking guys that, you know, that tradition just got passed on and passed on.
That sounds like a pretty awesome tradition, man. That's pretty cool. Now, I kind of like to use that latter question just to kind of shift and transition to the childhood, the upbringing. Kind of already mentioned you grew up in Pennsylvania, a small town. Why don't you paint that picture a little bit more for us? You know, any siblings? Did you play sports? Just talk a little bit more about that childhood for us up to about high school, and then we'll transition from there.
So basically, like I was saying, you know, it was a very, very small hometown, you know, upbringing where I grew up. Just a close knit of your friends. Your friends were very, very close to each other. You know, we knew everything about each other. We just, you know, it went from, you know, being an adolescent, you know, youth, 8 years old, playing sports together all the way up into that high school portion where you continued playing with it, you know, on the same teams. You know, it was no longer any like this day and age, you know, and I don't know about other areas, you know, but in this area where I grew up in right now, you could be on one team this year and then on another team the next year. We didn't have that opportunity when we were growing up. You stuck with the same team all the way up through. I started playing baseball when I was probably 7 years old, I believe, when I started playing baseball. And I was really, really, really fortunate to have a great father figure in my life, my dad. You know, my dad was, I can't talk enough about my dad and enough about my mother. They were always there to support me. They supported me and supported my journey all the way up and, you know, until the point where I'm at right now. I can remember being a child, and my dad was a pitcher when he was growing up, and that's where I fell. I loved pitching, and my dad would come home from work and he would spend countless hours. And when I say hours, I'm not joking one bit. There was just hours in the backyard that we would just throw weighted balls. And when my dad wasn't home, my dad had an old 3/4 plywood set up with a tire mounted to it and then foam insulation on the inside, where I would just go in the backyard and I would just throw at it. You know, the center of that tire was the strike zone. The, you know, the left-hand side, outer batter's box, the inner, you know, and I would just throw to get accuracy down. And I was a pretty darn good pitcher. Let's, you know, we'll leave it at that, because I don't like to, you know, boost myself up to any, you know, but I loved throwing. I loved pitching, and I pitched all the way up into my sophomore year in high school. But I also played football, and I played for Mount Carmel area Red Tornadoes. And my senior year, we won state. We went 15-0. But like I said, it all falls back upon you playing with that same group of kids and surrounding yourself with good people. And when you're capable of doing that and playing with the same kids each and every single year, you get to know their strengths. You get to, you know, you get to feed off of their strengths, and you get to become your own person and say, okay, well, if they can't offer this, what do I offer in order for this whole team to be better? Sibling wise, I have two sisters. I have a 28-year-old sister, and I also have a 15-year-old sister. I'm 37. And my baby sister, my littlest sister, is 15, and that was kind of a shock, you know, being a 22-year-old and hearing, hey, you know, mom's pregnant. What? You know, but my mom and dad have been married 38 years.
Awesome.
You know, they've been married 38 years, and you know, I've seen them grow, you know, and I'm sure we'll you know, get into that conversation, you know, about how, you know, more about my upbringing and things like that. But I watched my family, you know, I watched my dad and my mom progress. When I was growing up and I was a little boy, I really, you know, we really didn't have much. You know, my mom and dad always provided for me to have what I needed. And they, you know, and the struggle was there. And I can remember that as a little boy. I can remember my mom and dad, you know, working very, very hard. My dad started working on a coal truck. My My mom was in nursing school at that time when I was 5. Um, I watched my dad go from working on a coal truck to working in housekeeping in a hospital, then getting a job in security. And then I got to witness my dad get a job with the federal government from there. So I got to see what hard work, dedication, and not letting anybody else, get in your brain to say that you can't do something. I watched that progress. And I think that plays a very, very significant role on me and where I am currently in my life, because I got to witness that. And I'm so blessed to be able to witness that, because some people don't get to witness that and they become complacent in life. But I'm very, very happy with the way I was upbrought, my upbringing. And I'm so blessed to have the family that I have, the family support that I have. And that's the reason why I am who I am today.
Now, I want to ask you, because it sounds like, your dad was probably the biggest influence on your life as a young person. Is there something, I know you kind of mentioned, like, just being able to see your parents like progress, seeing your dad progress in terms of his career and stuff like that. Was there anything that your dad like specifically said to you when you were a kid? Like, was there like maybe a quote, or was there like some words of encouragement? That's just something that kind of sticks out in your mind as I ask this right now, Jer. Was there anything in terms of words that your dad spoke to you that you still hold on to this day?
I think the most important words that any young man growing up, and I see it and I hear it a lot with some of the people that I'm closest to that didn't have a father figure in their life. I think it's just very, very simple words that I'll never forget, that that my dad would always tell me. And it's simple. It's I'm proud of you. For any man, in my opinion, to hear those words, I'm proud of you, that just ignites something in you, and it makes you feel like you're doing something good. It makes you feel like you're worth something, and it pushes a man to work harder and harder each and every single day when you wake up in the morning. That's the easiest thing that I could say that, my dad would say, hear my dad say, I'm proud of you.
Excellent, man. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Now, something too, before we transition from kind of those younger years, I see you posting on your Instagram stories like Bible verses and stuff. So was faith something that played a role in your upbringing, or is that something that you discovered later on in your life?
So with my faith right now, and I owe everything to God. I mean, there's been so much, that I've been through in my life, and when you're capable of talking to the good Lord above each and every single day, I think, that really helps you out significantly in your life. When I was growing up, I went to Catholic school. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten until 6th grade, until, I transitioned out and I went to a public school at that time. But I had a Catholic school and Catholic education growing up until 6th grade. From there, I was always, my mom would always boom, 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 boom on the door, wake up, time to go to church Sunday morning, and you're that kid, like, oh man, I don't want to get up, I don't want to go to church. And you didn't know the significance of it then when you were growing up. But like I said, as we get further along, you'll see the reason why my faith is so strong in the Lord, because he's helped me out through many, many things later on in my life, to get through many things that I've been through. It's always good when you have something that you believe in, something that you hold on to dearly, and you're able to sit in silence or be in your vehicle, or if something's troubling you, and you're able to open up, and just pray about it. And I firmly believe that great things come when you open up and you accept the Lord, Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. I firmly believe that, but I'm not the type who would push religion off on anybody else, or speak about religion, to anybody who's not willing to listen. I post it up there. If people want to read that verse of the day, they can read it. If they see the verse, they can just hit next, and I won't push that off on anybody, but I want people to be able to, if they're interested, read just a portion of that Bible, every day. And maybe, even if they're not into religion, maybe they might start reading that and gain a little bit of interest. Maybe they might be able to be brought towards the Lord, because like I said, he's helped me out in many, many ways in many situations in my life that got me through some very, very sticky points in my life.
Cool, man. Yeah, I see you posting some Bible verses, and faith is something that's important to me, and I just want to at least touch on that and see if that was something that played a role in childhood. So let's when you were kind of getting towards the end of high school, what was your idea? What was kind of like your plan in terms of college, or what were you thinking you wanted to do post high school?
I'll tell you right now, when I was in high school, I was that kid that the teachers believed in me. Okay. The teachers believed in me, and I was lazy. I was complacent, and I was very, very lazy. I was that athlete, that loved just playing sports. That bell would ring at the end of the day, and I was hopping in, either, before I was able to drive, it was either run to the gym or jump in your vehicle and drive to the gym, go train, go to practice, go to sleep at night, wake up, do it all over again. You had that consistency. I was that kid who would have that assignment due, and I walk up to the teacher and say, hey, listen, if I don't do this assignment, will I still maintain an 85 average? And if they said, yeah, guess what? Y'all better just put down a 0 for that assignment, because I ain't doing it. But that pretty much came back to bite me a little bit. At the end of the high school, I originally I applied to a few colleges. With football, I could have went to a few colleges to go play football. I chose not to. I don't know why. There's no explanation for it. Maybe because I did have a high school girlfriend, and at that point in time, it might have held me back a little bit too. I wanted to stick around. I didn't want to go far. But when I left and graduated high school, I went to a community college for 1 year, and I took my gen eds there, and then I applied to Penn State University, got into Penn State University. My major was physical therapy. Then I wanted to go over into nursing. And when I tried to get into the nursing program, I did not get into the nursing program. So I took that year off. And when I took that year off, for those of who watch this podcast, they understand that Sally Mae, the loan company back then, they were nasty. As soon as you weren't in school no more, they were sending you mail in the mail, and I had to pay my loans back. So I took that year off from college, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So my dad told me that my dad worked for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Like I explained, my dad said that his ex-warden actually is a warden at a county prison. And I went up, I spoke to the warden and let him know who I was. He said to me, go fill out an application, hand it into the employment office down there, downtown, and bring me a copy back. Went over, brought him a copy back. Drove home that day, and by the time I got home, there was a message on the answer machine at my parents' house, because I was living at home still. And my dad said, hey, you got a message on the machine. It was the warden calling me up. Hey, congratulations. Now, this is a Friday, mind you. He calls me up and says, hey, congratulations, you start Monday. And I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. Wait, I was never a correctional officer ever before in my life. All right. Like I ain't this prepared. Like y'all gonna start me on Monday for real? And I'm like, I looked at my dad, and I'm like, I'm nervous as all heck. So that's how I got, transition from that college period to getting into the correctional field. Do you want me to continue rolling with that?
You just keep rolling, my man.
All right.
I love it. Keep going.
So I worked for 2 different county jails for a year, and I built up enough experience in order to apply for the Federal Bureau of Prisons, where my dad was working at the time. I applied for the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and lo and behold, get called in for an interview. Got called in for urinalysis testing. At that point in time, as soon as you get called for UA, you pretty much know you got the job. I never did any drugs growing up, so go in, take the test. Next thing you know, I'm getting hired with the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and that's where I started my career with the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Ended up getting hurt. When I got hurt with them, I went through 5 reconstructive knee surgeries. I had a blood clot, I had bone infection, I had some nerve damage as well. They had actually ended up medically retiring me after, I believe, 8 years of working with the prison system. To go back, I was when I started weight training. Okay, I just want to try to paint this picture for people. When I started weight training, we knew nothing about nutrition aspect of things. It was, if you want to get big, you got to eat big. Okay, so I would go in, I would train legs, and I'd go down to McDonald's. I eat 10 double cheeseburgers and Whoppers. So next thing you know, I'm 316 pounds right now. All right, and I'm chubby. I mean, I'm strong, but I'm chubby. So I was heavy. I was a big kid at 316 all the way until I was 20 years old. And then when I got in with the Federal Bureau of Prisons when I was 21, that's when I started learning the nutritional aspect of things. And that's when I started, I started helping other people out with their weight loss, because I went from 316 pounds all the way down to, I believe, 189 to, get that rebound effect and grow appropriately. And that's when I wanted to start bodybuilding. So I want to paint that picture, that I started coaching 17 years ago, but for my first 5 years, I never charged a client. I wanted to gain as much knowledge and experience as I possibly could. So with the prison system now, I got medically retired from them. And when I was medically retired, it was like, oh, wow, what am I going to do with my life at this point in time? I was living in Wilmington, North Carolina, because I transferred down to a federal prison down in that area. And my sister was going back to school. Actually was graduating high school at that time. And she was moving back up to Pennsylvania to go to nursing school. I said, well, damn, that was one of my original majors, right? So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back to nursing school too. You get medically retired. What are you going to do with the rest of your life? You're not going to be a bum. You're not going to just sit around and do absolutely nothing with the rest of your life. You better figure something out. You better provide for your family. You better, better plan for a better future. So I told family members that, hey, I'm going to go back to nursing school. And they all said, you're crazy. You're old. You're nuts. Like think of something else to do. Now I know I'm going to go back to nursing school again. And I think a lot of the things that people thought I was crazy for was because at that point in time, I had a wife who always supported me. Let's put it that way. My ex-wife always supported me in so many different ways. And if it wasn't for her as well, I wouldn't be where I am. But she played a very big role in my life and still does. The absolute best mother that I could ever ask for to be in my child's life. So she was pregnant at the time, and here I am going back to nursing school, and plans on going back to nursing school. So my daughter was born, and it was not easy. It was not easy going back, and I had to get my gen eds again. And I think what really, really struck a lot of people, people were like, you're crazy for doing it, is when I went back to the community college and I had a 4.0 average. I went back and took all my gen eds, all them, microbiology, anatomy, A&P1, A&P2, statistics and all that. I was able to do it. And I'm like, this is what happens when you apply yourself in life and actually want to be better and have a better future for your family. So I went back, and then I got into the nursing program, of course. And my ex-wife at that time, she was working 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday. And I was in school at that point in time, nursing school full time from 7 a.m. until, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we had our daughter who was just born. So when she would leave at 5 o'clock at night, to go to work, I was dad. I was dad. I had to study. There was points in time where I had to go back to the hospital to do my clinical rotations, do my clinical research papers and stuff like that. So it wasn't easy by any means, but graduated nursing school with my RN degree. And at that point, really, I wasn't really focused in on trying to get as many clients as possible with my nutritional company. Towards the end of that schooling, that's when I started picking up back up more of my older clients, more new clients all across the US, and then even overseas. And as you know, my social media is private. So word of mouth, I think, really, really drove me, and drives me each and every single day, because all it takes is for one person to say, oh, he's a bad coach, he doesn't care. And that trickles down. That has a tree effect. So it starts and it could trickle out. So I pride myself on that, being and doing the best that I possibly can do with my coaching business. And that's just who I am. Like I said, I graduated nursing school. My clientele started building up again. And next thing you know, I graduated with my RN degree and I never worked a day as a nurse. And to me, it's mind blowing, and a lot of people are like, you're crazy. Why aren't you working that 9 to 5? And I said, because I love what I do. I love nursing. I love working around kids. I actually want to be an OB nurse. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with babies. I love that clinical rotation. I love kids. But that's what I wanted to do. And next thing you know, I have more and more clients. Like I said, my clientele just started building up and blowing up out of nowhere. And I never had to work a day as a nurse. So that's where I got to with that portion of my life.
Excellent. Now, I want to take a couple steps back here and touch on a few things before we kind of get into all things coaching and bodybuilding. So, what was the experience like working in the prison system? I've worked not in the prison system, but I've worked like at a halfway house. I've worked with gone into juvenile detention centers, done different types of ministry things. So I've kind of been around, that type of individual quite a bit in my life, especially my 20s. But just talk about that experience, because that's definitely a unique experience. I don't think a lot of people understand how intense that career is, and being around those type of people, how on high alert you have to be. So just talk about that, and maybe just one or two of the takeaways from that career, and then I've got some other questions for you.
Okay. So I'll never forget the first day that I was working in the prison itself, and I was, of course, you had 2 doors that would lead out into the compound area. Try to paint the picture. It is a city inside of wire. I'll never forget walking through the first door by the control center. That door closes behind you, so now you're in the Sally Port, and then the next door gets popped. In case of, somebody ever got compromised, you have that area, that space in there. The second door pops, I walk out, and they call a 10-minute move, which means basically the inmates are moving from, their housing units to the recreation yard. They're moving, toward, to activities, education, their job, whatever the case may be. And I remember that 10-minute move being called, and I just remember just seeing 800, 900 inmates just coming out. And I thought to myself, what the hell did I just get myself into right now? And I think that was like one of the first experiences, damn, good God, oh man, what did I do? What did I get myself into? But it was, I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. I think with any career that you have, it's what you make of it. You can make your job very, very difficult in any field, or you can make your job enjoyable and the day go by smooth and fast. Being a 21-year-old, just snot-nosed kid, not knowing anything, you had to mature really, really, really fast in that type of environment. You better learn how to speak to people. You better have good communication skills, and, give respect, get respect, give respect. And I think that helps you mature as an individual, you know, being placed in that type of an environment at that age. Um, you're dealing with some high end profile, you know, inmates, you know, many of them that you see on TV, you know, people who have nothing to lose. So I actually enjoyed working in that environment. You know, I really, really did. I enjoyed, you know, I enjoyed my job. I enjoyed, you know, some of the workers that worked there. Um, it was just a different atmosphere of knowing that every single day that you walk into work, you're gonna encounter something different that day. It's not going to be monotonous. It's not going to be, you know, the same thing over and over and over again. It's going to be something different. You know, you're going to experience possibly a fight that day that you could walk out in the street now and laugh about. Like, what, that fight there? You know, whereas, you know, you could walk in there and it you get to witness a fight inside of a cell, and it looks like somebody grabbed a can of red paint and threw it all over the walls, all over the floor, all over the ceiling, and you're like, damn, somebody died in here. And you're like, you see them walking out, and it's like, how the hell y'all still walking? You know, like those are experiences like that I look back on. I could smile. I'm like, you know, it's an amazement. You know, it's absolutely, truly an amazing experience. You know, and some of the inmates that I've met, they were very, very smart individuals. I mean, they were very ingenious. The recreation yard, when I would be working out in an OP truck, and I'd see the athleticism of some of them, some of the guys. I'd see them training with weights, and it would be like, good God Almighty, like this dude here is strong as hell. They're behind a wire. I've seen some of the craziest physiques that I have ever seen in my entire life inside of a prison. Okay. I've seen some of the craziest physiques. That goes to include at a national level. That goes up to include the professional level. Okay. I've seen some of the craziest physiques behind that wire that they don't have nutrition. They don't have a coach. They're eating ramen noodles. They're eating summer sausage. They're eating stuff from the chow hall. And it's like they know absolutely nothing about nutrition. And it was just genetics. And it was like, damn, like that guy there could be on stage. Like, and they hold that physique. And it was truly amazing to me. But that was a crazy experience. And if there was one thing that, you know, takeaways from that was it helped me mature as a man. Helped me mature very, very at a very young age. Helped me that aspect of things. But also it taught me that you have to wear in life in general. And this should apply. And if one thing I would like to tell, you know, the youth growing up, it's don't take your job home with you to your family. When you leave your job at your job. So in that type of setting, you had to have two different faces. I had to be Jerry that everybody knew on the outside out in the street. But then I had to be Jerry in the inside of that, in that prison system, where I had to be that mature person, because I don't take life serious, only when I have to. But inside there, you know, you kind of sort of do have to take things serious at all times, you know, watch your back at all times, you know, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if, you know, the inmate that you were talking to yesterday was having a good day. And then all of a sudden, you know, he comes out of the phone room and, you know, you're walking down the block, and he could have had an argument with his wife, you know, a girlfriend, and he's in there. He knows he ain't got nothing to lose. Who am I going to hit? All right, the CO's right in front of me, you know, take him out. Who cares? I'm already doing life. So that was one takeaway. Like two takeaways for me was being able to mature really, really fast, and also do not take your job home with you to your family. Do not stress your family out.
Perfect, man. What have been some struggles or you know, times of trial in your life? I'm curious to hear about some of that.
So I think some of the biggest ones in my life was when I got medically retired from the Federal Bureau of Prisons. I slipped and fell in the camp kitchen originally, I tore my patellar tendon, my medial patellofemoral ligament, my lateral medial meniscus, and my MCL as well. At that point in time, I got up and I had 3 inmates helping me up off the ground. And I'm like, damn, I wonder what happened. And when I got up, I knew something wasn't right. I made it back to the back loading dock. I pulled up my pant leg, and I was actually prepping for a show back then that I was going to do. And it would have been my very first show. I pulled up my pant leg and my kneecap was dislocated. And I'm like, damn, like this ain't good. Went home that day right away and went to the emergency room, and they did an MRI. They got I'm sorry, they actually did an X-ray and then set me up with a orthopedic surgeon. Went and got the MRI done. That was the diagnosis on everything. They went in. I had, placed in the leg mobilizer, went in, had my very first surgery. After that first surgery, I was in physical therapy. Physical therapy was going great. It was going really, really good. I had to go in for a second surgery, which was, I believe the second surgery was hardware removal. So they want to remove some hardware. They went in, removed some hardware, still back on crutches again. So it's like you go from like that bodybuilding aspect of things, and then it's like, holy cow, like I may never be able to squat again. I mean, it may not be able to do this or that. I might not be able to bodybuild at all. So I went through my second surgery, and the night I came home, my mom's a nurse, and one day, the first day after physical therapy, I'm like, Mom, like my calf is swollen up. My calf hurts right now. And she said, maybe you got a blood clot. And I'm like, well, what should I do? And she's like, well, you probably should go to the emergency room now. So I go up to the emergency room. My sister was happy at that point in time because she got to take off school the next day. So she went up to the emergency room with me. They set me up with the vascular lab, went back home, came back in that morning. Sure as hell, I had a blood clot in my calf. So they placed me on Coumadin, with basically rat poisoning. They placed me on Coumadin for 6 months, and then I was on it for an additional 2 months to make it 8 months on the Coumadin. And that was just like, that was hell on earth, because every time you shave or get a nick, it was like you were bleeding out. So I recovered from all of that really, really well. Went back to work with the prison system because I was still working for them. Was placed on light duty, and I got a transfer. I transferred to South Carolina, and that was great because I was living on the beach in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I was driving an hour and a half one way to work. Went to work one day, and next thing you know, I got in an altercation with an inmate in the special housing unit. And when I took him down to the ground, I noticed something wasn't right with my left leg. Once again, I knew what happened. I knew what happened at that point in time. And I'm like, damn, I blew my knee out again. So I called my surgeon up, and he's like, hey, come back home. Let's get an MRI done on that knee. I retore my patellar tendon again. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And then the repairs that he did to my lateral medial meniscus, they were shot. So he's like, we're going to have to repair the patellar tendon again. We're going to have to, this time here, we're going to do lateral medial meniscus, meniscectomy. We're going to just remove it. So I'm like, okay, cool. I go in for my third knee surgery. Was getting back into it, great recovery. Everything was good. And then next thing you know, like I had like a lump on the inside of my kneecap from the MPFL surgery that they did. And he looked at it, and it was a bundle of nerves, I guess, that was scar tissue was starting to develop around, and it was just causing me constant pain all the time. And I hated taking Percocets. I hated taking narcotics. It just made me feel off. So he went back in for a fourth surgery to remove those, and that's when I had numbness in my knee, and like I couldn't feel. And to this day, I still can't feel a lot with my knee. I went in for that surgery. And by that time, I got a call from actually I got an email from the warden, and the warden basically said to me, "Hey, you're a liability. You no longer have a position here." And I'm just like, "What? Like, you no longer have a position here?" Like I was making a career of this. I was gonna do my 25 years and retire. I would have been retired by the age of 46. So it's like, oh damn, like what are you gonna do with your life right now? And that's what drove me to go back to nursing school naturally. But I did go through one more surgery, a fifth surgery for they had to do some more revisions to my knee. But I did recover. I did recover, fairly well from it. Of course, I some of my mobility. I don't have back. Like I can't bend my knee completely to this day, but it did not stop me from pursuing what I want to do with bodybuilding. So I think in all aspects of things, that was one of the hardest physical things that I had to overcome, because tearing your patellar tendon once, those who've done it will tell you, hey, I never squatted another day in my life. Tearing it twice was hell on earth. But I wanted to lead by example to all my clients. I didn't want to be that person to say, oh, I can't squat. No, yes, you can. If you put your mind to it, you can do anything that you want to do in your life. So yes, I got back into squatting again. Could I squat heavy? No, but guess what? I still do it. So that was one of the hardest physical things that I had to go through. Mentally, when you get medically retired like that, it wasn't everything to be cracked up to be what it was. Of course, I was under workers' compensation at that time. And when the prison system ended up saying, hey, we no longer have a position here for you, workers' compensation, of course, gets wind of that. And they want to vocationally retrain you. So I fought for them to pay for my nursing school. If this is the case, you want to release me, at least get me through nursing school, get me another career. Well, that wasn't the case. Vocational retrainer came back to me and said, you're capable of working as a clerk at CVS. You're capable of working, making X amount of dollars. We're going to compensate you 40% of the difference. Here you go. Hold on a second. Wait, you're going to compensate me 40% of the difference? That leaves me with nothing. I have a baby. I have a daughter to take care of. I have a wife, that we just moved up here. She just started a new job. I didn't have a pot to piss in. Plain and simple. I didn't have a pot to piss in. Everybody hears The Rock saying, oh, I had that 5-cent bank account. I beat The Rock. I had pennies in my bank account. My bank accounts were freaking negative. I was credit card debt out the ass just to put food on the table for my family. Christmas time rolls around. I always told my dad, I always told my mom, hey, I saw you guys working hard in your life. I saw you guys struggling. I saw you guys make it to the top. That's what I want to do. I don't want to have a child until I'm ready to be able to provide the best for my child. Well, guess what? My child's here, and now you get this thrown in your face. I don't know if you're a man. I don't know, and if you struggle and you get hit with something like that, you're a man. In my eyes, in my vision, in my brain, I have to support my family. Doesn't matter if my wife has a great job. That doesn't mean nothing. To me, I want to support my family. I want to be that great father figure in their life. I want to be able to provide for my family. I don't want my family to ever have anything to worry about in their life. Having pennies in your bank account, or even a negative bank account at that point in time, Christmas time rolls around, you're going to Five Below, you're going to the dollar store. You're getting your daughter that, somebody who means absolutely everything in your life to you. You're going to those places to get Christmas presents for your kid. Oh, shit, man. That's rough. That's rough because I look back at those times and it's like, man, I wish I could have did more, and at that time, I was, like I said, I was in nursing school and I was working part-time job at Nike. And just to bring extra money home for the family on top of, what I was being compensated. And, my clientele, I was starting to build more and more of my clientele back up again at that point. Like I said, but there wasn't much, there wasn't much. And I could vision it still, the Christmas tree that year, where me and my ex-wife were just like spreading presents out to make it look like there was a lot of presents. I just reflect back and it's like, man, I never wanted that. I never wanted that. So I think it's times like that I could reflect back on. And every single morning, if I wake up and I'm having something bad going on in my life, or I feel like I might slip a little bit and be lazy or be complacent, if I reflect back on times like that, it's like, I never want to feel that again. I never want to be in that situation again. I never want to put my family in that situation again. My daughter will never be put in that situation ever again. And she won't. That's my thing. She won't, because I'll work hard each and every single day of my life. I don't care what I have to do. I will never let my family or myself ever be put in that situation again. And that has taught me a lot as a man, and really drives me to be who I am right now and do what I do,
For sure. Now let's talk about the nutrition side of things and the bodybuilding. So talk about just you getting kind of into bodybuilding and what that kind of looks like. And then let's talk about how you kind of like educated yourself and learned about nutrition and kind of helping other people meet their like physical goals in terms of body transformation or actually competing themselves. So talk about your bodybuilding experience, how you kind of got into it, just past the lifting weights for sport. And then let's talk about the nutrition and how you educate yourself and learn that side of things.
Absolutely. So basically, like I said, I was 12 years old. I got into the gym. We didn't know anything about nutrition whatsoever, and like I said, I found myself really, really strong, 316 pounds, the age of 20. Got the job at the Federal Bureau of Prisons. One of my good buddies there at the prison, he cracked jokes with me. I was big. So he'd be cracking jokes with me. Of course, and how, in the prison system itself, people would joke around with you, crack jokes. And it was like, all right, I'm going to show y'all. And I remember being 21 years old, and I remember standing around a campfire with my buddies, and I was drinking a case of Natty Light, or actually Natty Ice it was. And I just had enough. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do this transition out of this, powerlifting, and I'm gonna get into bodybuilding. Because when I was younger, I picked up a magazine because the gym had magazines at the front. And of course, Kevin was actually on the front of Flex magazine. And it was actually one of his very first covers that he ever did. And I have that up in my cabinet. He actually signed that for me. So I wanted to learn as much as I could about nutrition, but yeah, I wanted to do trial and error. So I went from 316 and I dropped down to 189 pounds. But at that campfire, mind you, I told all my buddies, I said, 9 months, I'm going to have abs. They looked at me like I was nuts. Man, you do realize you got a 48-inch waist, right, dude? Like 9 months, you having abs, that ain't going to happen. I said, okay. 9 months later, I had abs. So I dropped down to 189. And at that point in time, At Large Nutrition, I was using their products. Chris Mason actually did an article on me because he knew about my my weight loss journey, and so he did an article back then. It was, and I wish I had that article still, but I don't. But I just started doing research. In magazines, seeing how people were eating. Of course, everybody knows, old school way of dieting, fish, no carbohydrate, get the cardio in, hard work. And that's pretty much basically what I did to lose all the weight. I went from eating 10 double cheeseburgers and, sucking down, quarter pounders with fries and all that crazy stuff, eat big, get big. And I went down and that's what I started eating. I started eating very, very clean, low carbohydrates, started doing, cardio, more and more cardio. I was outside running. Um, I couldn't imagine what people were thinking, seeing a 316-pound dude in a sauna suit and sweatpants running up the road. People had to have thought I was, batshit crazy. Because I look back and I could probably vision myself seeing that fat kid running up the road. But but those are the times that I could reflect back on and laugh upon. But that's what got me into it, and I got educated myself more and more and more, opening up actual books on nutrition, learning about nutrition, learning how the body functions. When I went back into school, I had a lot of nutritional classes when I was in college that, because of nursing and also the physical therapy aspect of things, nutritional books. I opened them up, started reading more and more and more about all of that. That's when I said, when I made that transition for myself, that's when I said, you know what, I'm going to help other people out. So for the first 5 years, like I said, I never charged anybody to help people out. So I had quite an abundant amount of people who I was helping out for my first 5 years that never charged a dime. I want to learn bodies. I want to learn how the bodies are functioning. I want to know more about myself. I want to know what works on myself. I want to learn as much as I possibly can. I was fortunate enough also to meet the late, great Bob Gruskin. Okay. I would write to Bob because Bob liked to correspond with snail mail, as he called it, I would correspond with Bob. I would see Bob twice a year because NABA was big around this area here, down in York, and then it was located up, moved up to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That was a very, very big thing for me, and I'm grateful to have gotten to know Bob, got to know a little bit more about him, and there's times where I wish I could pick up a phone and call him and see how he's doing, because I did talk to him about a month before he did pass away. But he played a big role in my life, when I would have questions, Bob would answer a lot of questions. He was an old school guy, and I used to sit next to him at the NABA shows because I was judging at that time. And he would ask me, he'd pick my brains. What do I think about this guy? What do I think about that guy? And I'd pick apart people's physiques on the stage, with Bob, and picked his brains for the whole time that I was there. I picked Bob's brain. So as I progressed with bodybuilding, like I said, I dieted down when I was 21. I ended up getting hurt with the prison when I was 26. So like I said, I was prepping for my very first show at that point. Ended up getting hurt, and that took me out of the bodybuilding realm. All right. And that really, really played a big mental role on me, when you see and you experience an injury like that. Yeah, I overcame those injuries. Yes, I was back in the gym, and Turner knows I was going through a lot in my life at one point in time, and Turner did my diet 1 year, and when I saw what I looked like, I'm like, hey, you know what, maybe just maybe after these, after all these surgeries and all, maybe I could do this again, but I didn't see myself as being good enough. And my left leg, where it was injured, it just wasn't responding the way that I wanted it to. So my legs were very, very stubborn. Trying to bring my legs back up at the age of 31, it was hard. It was very, very, very hard. I wanted to do it. And every time, each consecutive year, all the way up until last year, I lived the bodybuilding lifestyle. I'd go into a quote unquote off season, I'd build, and then I'd shred it down, and people would go on my Instagram and look. But I guess you could classify me as a bodybuilding coach, one of them coaches who people say, oh, well, he never stepped foot on stage. I never saw myself as good enough. Could I have gotten on stage? Absolutely. And there's plenty of people who would have told you, yes, I could have gone on stage. Kevin Lavroni was one of my best friends. He's been to my house. He has seen me stripped down, and to hear somebody like that say, "You look good," that 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 was enough for me. But yet, it also wasn't, because when I looked at my photos, I'm like, my legs could be a lot better. My legs could be a hell of a lot better. But it just never happened. And I did not want to go into and the way my brain always thinks is I want to be able to not be at this level, but I want to do very well at the next level. So in my brain, if I didn't think that I was capable of stepping foot on a national stage and winning a pro card, then I'm not going to do it. I was that mentality where I'll go to a local show. I know for a fact that I could go to a local show, win a local show, go to a national show, win the national show. That's what my brain was. But when I looked at myself after all those injuries, no, it wasn't going to happen. So why step foot on stage at that point in time? That's where I got with, that's where I got to be where I am, right now, up until COVID hit. And then COVID hit, and then that took a pretty big hit on me mentally. What else did you want to hit on there?
No, that's perfect. I want to transition, just for the sake of time, I want to transition into JL Nutrition, the supplements, and how has all of that come to be? Because from my understanding, the supplements aren't available yet. So why don't you just kind of unpack that and talk about when we can expect the supplements, why you started the supplement company, and kind of what your future plans are, Jer, with all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, realizing when COVID hit, the gym was taken away from all of us. Then it was sort of like, okay, well, you have your clients right now, you got downtime, you got extra time on your hands right now. What are you going to do? I was blessed, like I said, to know Kevin. Got to, have, utilize his products. Got to do some videos for Kevin, got to, do a little bit of write-ups and stuff like that for Kevin. And he came to me, he said, "You got all this knowledge," he said, "about all this stuff, and you're telling me that my videos don't sound good." He's like, "Why don't you do this yourself?" He said, "Why don't you start a supplement company yourself?" And I sat back and I said, "Well, maybe just maybe this could happen." And I talked to him about it, and I do owe a lot to him. He started me out. He led me in the right direction, hooked me up with all the right people. From there, I had the finances to do it. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to put my family in a financial crisis. And I pulled the gun on it. And at first I had absolutely no clue. I had no clue whatsoever what I was getting myself into. I thought, it's gonna be great. Make some formulas, get some bottles, slap a label on it, get the products, start shipping them out. No, not even close. So I'm like, okay, I have to have a logo designer. All right, that's great. Now I got my manufacturer. Great. Now I got my fulfillment center. Okay. Now I have, my label printing company. Now I have not just one lawyer, not just two lawyers. Now I got 3 lawyers. Now I got my web designer. Now, like things just started adding up and up and up. And then it's like, okay, now you got your CPA. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now you got your accountant. Now you got somebody to run your books. Everything just hit, and it was just like, whoa, like I knew absolutely nothing what I was getting myself into. I did not have a business partner. I had people ask me, hey, do you want to partner up? I said, absolutely not. If I have the finances to do this, I'm going to do this on my own. I had great guidance though. I have a great team put together. It's just just is not me. This is a great, fantastic team that, you know, has been brought together right now to work on this project. So when COVID hit and gyms got closed in March, I was fortunate while people were losing their jobs, and this is where faith comes into play. God has blessed me. Where people were losing jobs, I was capable of starting a company. That makes no sense whatsoever. I was able to start a company, start getting things rolling, start getting flavor samples done. People who know me know that I'm very detailed and I'm a very, very particular person. If it's not done the correct way, it's not done at all. So the flavors, I had to have them spot on. I needed them spot on. So we went back and forth numerous times on flavors. My formulations, I wanted to make sure that I was providing people with quality ingredients. I wanted to make sure that the formulations were quote unquote clinically dosed based upon, you know, my knowledge, you know, of doing, you know, reading scholarly journals, you know, putting the research in, putting the time in to make sure that my formulas are what they need to be in my products. My labels, that's one of the holdups right now is the labels. I want to make sure that my labels look just as good as the ingredients that are inside of my products. So look, shipping, the packaging, the ingredients that I'm using, the formulations, I need everything to be perfect because I'm a perfectionist and I know what it was like to struggle. I don't want, and I know what it's like to work hard. I don't want to put something out there and just push something out there on the market and sell. I want to provide hardworking people with quality products, quality products that aren't flooded with fillers, quality products that are going to aid their specific needs. So that's where we are right now. Actually have somebody working on the final two products, my pre-workout and my enhanced essential amino acid product. We're going back and forth with that right now, trying to finalize that label because I did prototype labels actually for the NPC Muscle, the show that I sponsored. And I wasn't happy with, you know, I was happy with them, but I wasn't happy. So we're doing actually a redesign of the health line as well as my performance line, which is called the Platinum line. So on the Platinum line, the performance line, I have a pre-workout and I have an enhanced essential amino acid product. Want to separate the line to accommodate, you know, both the athlete as well as the health line to accommodate the older generation of people for health products, but also accommodate the you know, the athlete as well with those health products. So on the health line itself, I have a multivitamin coming out. I have a zinc standalone product with just zinc. And then I also have Mitigator, which is total immune support. I could thank Dr. Fauci for that because we all heard him saying mitigation, mitigation, mitigation. And originally it was going to be called Guardian. And that name was trademarked already. So I'm like, you know what? We're going to call this Mitigator. And that's where that one came from. But that's total immune support product. With the pre-workout, naturally, I have two flavors coming out with the pre-workout, blue raspberry and peachy rings. I don't know if anybody ever had like the blue slush puppies from the 7-Elevens or those. That's exactly what the blue raz tastes like. Peach rings tastes exactly like peach rings. My intra workout, the enhanced essential amino acid product, it's all fermented amino acids in that product itself. Contains glutamine. Also, I put creatine in there as well, and actually, I also put estrogen in there as well in order to enhance the absorption of those products. Basically, I want to do something different with the supplements as well. I wanted everything to run hand in hand with each other when I formulated all my products. So I want my pre-workout to be a pre-workout, but yet I also want the enhanced essential amino acid product while you're training, the intra-workout, to accommodate and work synergistically with each other. So my pre-workout and my intra-workout work synergistically with each other. Same thing with my multivitamin and mitigator. They work synergistically with each other too, with the absorption matrix that I have in there. So I mean, that's what I want to do. I want to separate myself from what other people are doing, I wanted clean products, and did not want to rush things out the gate right off the bat, because like I said, I'm a perfectionist, and if it's not done 100% correct, I'm not going to put anything out there on the market just to gain a dollar bill from anybody. I want people to be able, hardworking people to be able to appreciate these products and actually benefit from my products. So it's more about the caring aspect right now that is, holding back a little bit on the release. Right now, God willing, hopefully, maybe 2 months before the initial launch. Also going to be working on my apparel line as well. Right now I have these t-shirts out right now for sale, but I also want to work on a female apparel line, and right now looking at leggings for females, possibly sports bras, and comfortable tank tops. That aspect of things. I want to try to reach as many audiences as I possibly can and accommodate as many people as I possibly can, because that's what I'm all about. I'm all about helping people and making sure I do things in the correct way. So
excellent. We're gonna wrap it up here. I want to give you an opportunity, Jared, just to kind of talk about kind of like social media, the youth, fitness, bodybuilding, kind of how social media sometimes maybe isn't giving us the facts or the truth. Why don't you kind of just share your heart on that? And then before you wrap up, we've got about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
Why don't you share where people can touch base with you, connect with you, if they want to learn more about your supplements? Where can people find all that kind of after you share your heart about social media and just keeping the real thing?
Absolutely. What I've come to find out in life, and this is something that we talked about and I want to share with a lot of people. When you wake up every single morning and you're a bodybuilder or you're in the fitness industry, that is your platform. Utilize that as a platform. At any given time in your life, you could come down with an injury, and all of a sudden your world could come crashing down on you. And if you don't have that sport to rely on, what do you really have? Social media anymore, in my opinion, portrays this. Everybody's life is perfect. You see highlight reels of people's lives. People are only going to show you the good times in their lives. People are going to hide the bad times. Nobody wants to see the bad times in people's lives, and people don't want to share the bad times that they go through in their life. And that's one of the reasons why I want to do this podcast with you. I want to open up to people and let people know that, hey, listen, there are people out there who struggle. And if you do not let, the weight of the world holds you down, anything is possible. You have to create your own avenue in your life. You could listen to what other people have to tell you in your life and say, okay, well, I'm going to follow this person's advice. Or you could go with your heart and go down a road that other people don't want to walk down. Other people don't want to travel. That road there is the road that you always want to take in your life, because nothing, and I'll repeat this to everybody, the youth out there, even the younger generation, nothing good in your life will ever come from the word easy. Never. If you want something great, you're going to have to work for it, because right now, nobody's going to hand you anything in your life. Bodybuilding, the fitness industry, what you post on social media is a fantastic platform. That is it. It is simply a platform to reach and spark somebody's attention. It's an attention grabber. Okay. Once you grab that attention, what you do with it is totally up to you. If I would have listened to the people that were plugging advice into my ears saying that, you have to go work a 9 to 5, you have to go work as a nurse. If I would have did that I wouldn't have time for my clients right now. I wouldn't be starting, a supplement company. I wouldn't be working with, I wouldn't have the great group of people that I'm surrounding myself with working on this company, because like I said, it's not me, it's we, everybody who works for me. There's certain people like Chaz, my manufacturer, Trent, my web designer. I mean, Teddy, has given me great advice from overseas. I mean, it goes beyond so much more than just waking up and saying, oh, I got to make sure I got to get these 7 meals in, or I got to get these 6 meals in today. It goes above and beyond that. What are you doing today to set your future up? Yes, you're a bodybuilder today. You know, you might be doing very good with bodybuilding. What are you doing on the other aspect of your life? Are you planning for your future? Are you investing? Are you, contributing to a 401k? Are you starting a business up for yourself, to support your family in the future for when, bodybuilding might not be your thing anymore? Fitness and being that fitness model, on Instagram, that might not be your thing anymore. What are you going to do when you're 50 years old? You're 50 years old. You ain't going to be jacked the way you were, So what do you have? What did you do when you had that platform, when you had people's attention? What did you do to set your family up for success in order to, start that 401k, start that business, start that second, that third, that fourth business? What did you do? Did you invest so that you're not working until your wheels fall off one day? Utilize the platform that you have right now. Just because you go on social media and you see this person posting smiling each and every single day, trust me, that person is wearing a mask a lot of times, because behind every smile there's a lot of tears. And I'll tell you right now, there's been times where with my companies, there's been times where I've lost family, I've lost friends, I've missed holidays, I've missed special events. I've missed so much because of traveling. And it's like, man, if I didn't do all of that stuff, I wouldn't be where I am right now. But yet there's also a side where you could go in the bathroom at night, and one of those memories where, you might have missed, you might have missed your daughter's birthday, and you just go in the bathroom, and it's like, you look at yourself in the mirror and you break down. You break down as a man, and the tears start flowing. Those are times you can't get back. But then you have to remind yourself that you did it for a gooder purpose, for a better purpose. Your intentions are pure. Or, you're with your family and you clam up, you get quiet, because something's bothering you, and you don't want to talk about it because you don't want to put that stress on your significant other or any other family member. You clam up, you don't want to talk about it, and all of a sudden, being a business owner, sometimes that plays a significant role on your family life. So that's from my perspective, and what I've been through. And that was me. I clam up, I get quiet, I could be that SOB, that, hey, what's wrong? Nothing, I don't want to talk about it. And it alters who you are as a person. But yet there's always that, the intentions that are there. Those intentions is what truly matters. So you could see people, like I said, see people smiling and being happy and being all funny on social media, because that's who I want to lift people up each and every single day. But this is where I want it to be real coming on here with you, that we all struggle. Trust me, there are struggles. There are times where I just sit down and just cry, thinking about the hardships, thinking about what's going on in your life. But there's always light at the end of the tunnel. As long as you're willing to work hard, as long as you utilize your platform to be better than what you were the previous day, the sky is the absolute limit for you in your entire life. Don't let anybody ever tell you that you can't do something, because trust me, utilize that. You can do that as fuel in your life and be the absolute best person you can be. And if you become a better person than what you were the previous day, you have no other alternative but to reach greatness and keep climbing that ladder. While you're climbing that ladder, take a look who's around you. Take a look who supported you from that bottom of that ladder. And as you're climbing, take a look who's still around. Because I learned one thing, as doing all of this, I've cut a lot of people out. A lot of people had to be cut out. And all of a sudden, people say, hey, I got a circle. And all of a sudden that circle becomes a dot. Just be mindful in life, protect yourself, be the hardest worker that you could possibly be in all aspects of your life. And great things are always on the horizon. Go through the struggles, embrace the struggles, make it suck. When it sucks, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. If it's easy, you got to think of another avenue to take, because like I said before, nothing good ever comes from the word easy. It's going to be a rocky road, But when you're able to get over those rocky roads, and if a speed bump comes in front of you, speed bumps are good for one thing, slowing you down. When you get to that speed bump and you go over that speed bump, what do? You hit the gas and you accelerate. So don't let speed bumps stop you in any aspect of your life. Keep plugging away and be the best version of yourself that you could possibly be each and every single day.
Excellent. Where can people connect with you?
People can find me on Instagram under JL Nutrition. Also, they can find me on Instagram as well under JL Nutrition Supplements. And then also Facebook, Jer Lupotsky.
Excellent. Jared, thanks so much, man, for sharing your story, chopping up, giving us definitely some food for thought. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I really, really appreciate you too, sir.
For sure. Thank you so much, Behind the Muscle podcast listeners. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Two things I would ask you guys: hit the subscribe button on YouTube, and then take Jared's episode and make sure you share it on all of your social media platforms. Tag Jared, tag JL Nutrition Supplements, tag Behind the Muscle, so that we know you guys are listening. We know that you guys found value in Jared's episode, his story, and some of his encouraging words. And I want to, again, just reiterate, for all of you guys that have subscribed to the YouTube channel, for all of you that continue to come back and listen, just from myself, from Behind the Muscle podcast, thank you so much, because if it wasn't for you guys listening, subscribing, continuing to support us and what we're doing, this wouldn't be happening. So thank you so much. And finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.